What is up, everyone? We are back with another episode of Shaping the Culture, and we've got a special guest with us today. We've got the one and only Siri on Worku with us. How you doing, friend?
Full government name.
What, are you going by Siri or Sirion?
For now, it's going to be Siri.
Siri.
Yes, what is up, everyone?
Yeah, so this is your first time on the podcast.
First time.
Shaping the Culture. By the way, shameless plug, you can purchase a hoodie. If you go on my Instagram bio, there's a link there. You can just purchase a hoodie. We've only got like five or six left.
Come on.
So make sure you grab one. Anyways, back to the conversation.
That's what we're here for, shaping the culture. Am I right?
You're very right. So you are, first time on the podcast. And just wanted to ask, how do you feel? How are you? You're in the winter.
This is my first time in Minnesota while it was snowing.
Yeah. You always come during the summertime.
Only come during the summertime.
And today you realize why that is.
I'm blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to snow. It's cute. It was not cute. It's still snowing. It hasn't stopped snowing since we woke up.
Yeah. I think it's going to snow for the rest of the evening too.
I hope I get snowed in.
Well, it's crazy. You hope you get snowed in.
Right.
So you don't want to go back.
I hope my boss doesn't hear this.
Listen, Siri is notorious for not wanting to go home. We've got stories on stories of her trying to finesse her way into staying wherever we're at.
One more day. I always want to stay one more day than I plan. Even if I give myself one more day when I plan the trips, I want to go past that.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
We'll never know. The thing with Minnesota is we're not like Texas, where we're ready for stuff like this. So by the time we wake up tomorrow, the snow's probably gone.
It's going to be gone.
Yeah, we'll have our energy.
Yourselves.
We'll have our heat. We'll have freeways to drive on.
I don't know why. Poor Texas, man.
Poor Texas, yeah. But anyway, so first time on the podcast, you're in Minnesota, snowing. And we're talking about you possibly going back home tomorrow. Now, where is home for you?
Home for me right now is in Redding, California. I don't know why I laugh every time I say that.
Redding. So
Redding, California.
For those who don't know, you're not from Redding.
No.
You're from Kansas.
Kansas City,
so,
913. Lift it up. Is that what people say? Not lift it up. What am I, in a worship service?
Lips on your tongue? What's that? We were just watching a bunch of Instagram videos, and there was this one.
Said, let his lips be on your tongue.
I'm
sorry, whose? Whose lips?
On whose tongue?
Right, not mine.
Yeah.
God bless.
Anyways, repping 913. I'm glad you still represent Kansas. There's not much to represent, but I'm glad you're still representing.
I know there's quite a handful of Kansas people that listen to Shaping the Culture.
They do, yeah. Shout out to all you listeners. Yeah. Y'all are amazing.
I still love you.
We love y'all.
Don't worry. California took me, but Kansas made me.
So let's talk about that. So yeah, you're from Kansas, but you're right now in Redding, California. Yeah. What brought you to Redding?
What brought me to Redding? So I'm just breathing all up on the mic. School was really hard for me.
Yeah.
And I think it was because I didn't realize the calling, my calling. So I was in Kansas. I'm like, about to be a pediatrician.
Yeah.
We finna make it. Doctor, make my parents proud.
Right.
I got into college, y'all. That was a wrap.
Said this ain't for me.
I said, not my will, but yours, God. And if it ain't school, so it be.
Yes. You weren't complaining about that one.
I was not complaining. So it's actually interesting. A lot of people don't know. I bombed in school. I think this is the first time I'm publicly talking about it. But I just didn't.
We're shaping the culture. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it wasn't. I'm not excusing it.
Yeah.
But it was just not I would be in school thinking about the next worship set or my dreams and all of this stuff. And I was just not good at doing school. I was just not good at school. It was, or the kind of school that I was in.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? Let me just I'm tired of it just being over and over and over again. So I said, let's see what the Lord is doing.
Yeah.
Prayed about it.
Well, quick question, not to interrupt. But when you were like not doing so well in school, did that weigh in on your security, your confidence, or were you just like, see, I know this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. This is a sign that I should exit. Or did you wrestle a little bit?
There was no wrestling. I was like, because I think I'm the type of person that's like, if I know that something, like I'm good at something, then I know I'm like, like music.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be good in piano.
Yeah.
So I just did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew I was going to be good at guitar. So I just did it, you know, but with school, I was like, I was really good in school in high school.
Yeah.
High school was prime.
That was your thing. Yeah.
That was my thing. And then, because it was high school, everything was made for you. You don't really have space to dream outside of high school.
Yeah.
But college is like, it's where you really decide, okay, I'm either going to follow through with this or not. So,
yeah. So you're just like, all right, cool. This ain't my lane. I'm totally okay with that. I know that I'm good at this. And I already believe that the Lord is leading me in this direction.
Yeah.
So let me
drop out of school.
All right. So context for those who don't know, we're Ethiopian.
Yes.
And I see you guys in the comment section asking what's Abisha every time we throw out the word Abisha on this podcast.
This is a great podcast to talk about it on. All the things I did.
Yeah. They were just like, what everybody's like, what's Abisha? Abisha, it's like a term we use to identify Ethiopians.
It's like Hispanics.
Eritreans. Yeah.
Hispanic is like general to like Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, all
there
these like.
Or like Latino.
Latino, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, we're grouping Ethiopian and Eritreans and we say Abisha. So, and for those who don't have context to what it's like to be Ethiopian, to drop out of school is to hate your parents.
Essentially,
it's to denounce your faith and walk away from Christianity altogether. We marry our faith and our academics way too often. And so were you terrified to come to your parents and let them know, hey, I'm dropping out?
I'm like not going back.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't know if you remember spring break conference.
Which one?
Living Your Purpose. Marlon, Pastor Marlon.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So that changed my life. Wow. I was leading worship.
Yeah.
That changed my life because he was preaching on the whole series was Living Your Purpose or whatever. It was like the year before. I was like a senior in high school.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what year. I think it was 2015.
Okay.
I was a senior. And that was the year I was like, I know I'm called for ministry.
Yeah.
I know I'm called, like not just the church, but like I know I'm called for something greater than just what I'm here for right now. So that was the year I told my parents that I didn't want to do regular school.
And you just were bold with it. You were
I was like, I don't want to, I want to do ministry school. Yeah. And that time they were like, are you kidding me? You're dropping out of school. Like just distraught that I wanted to do something other than what I had planned.
You said, look at me now.
Look,
we'll get to that.
Ain't he worthy of all praise?
Of all praise and honor.
Yeah, no. That year I told them.
Was there tension? Like
so much tension. My parents, we didn't speak for like a week and a half. And you know our family.
Yeah.
We're super close. We talk every day.
Yeah.
We talk about everything under the sun. There's nothing that we hide from our parents.
Not that week. They gave you the silent treatment.
That week they said, whose roof you living under? Not mine. Right. It was one of those. And so a year later, they saw how regular school was for me.
Yeah, they saw you struggling, and you're like, all right. So did you go to college then to please them?
Yeah.
Because you knew at that point that's not what you wanted to do.
It wasn't what I wanted to do. We had talked after, and my dad was coincidentally Living Your Purpose, the conference. My dad went to one of the services, and it was actually the Sunday service where Pastor Marlon was speaking to the parents, and he was like, parents, like your kids aren't your own. Woo! Like it was just that whole week was such a crazy coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't believe in coincidences, but that's the only word I can use. That was like, what the heck is happening? This is so crazy. But
that was on
he said, parents, like like your kids aren't your own. Like if your kids want to serve the Lord, do ministry. That's their purpose. Let them live their purpose.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he gave them to you.
Yeah.
So your only job is to give them back, right?
That's so good.
So my dad was bawling his eyes out, like he was crying, and he apologized, and I apologized. And at that point, I was just like, dang it, I think we can do a happy medium.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me study like sociology. Let me do something that's in between what I want to do and what they want to do. Sociology is still serving people.
Yeah, I get
Still
that.
people.
Yeah, I majored in psychology, so I get. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like it's still around that area. So I went to school partially to please them, to make them be like, okay, like, let me just do this and then I can do whatever.
Do what you want to do.
Yeah. And then, well, still breathing into the mic. Yeah. And then a year later, the whole school thing happened and I sat them down and I was like, I'm not going back to school. Like, I want to do ministry school. Found Bethel. The only thing I knew about Bethel was Bethel music.
Yeah.
And I mean, we listened to I led their songs. I led all this
that's
stuff.
all the conferences we went to, church services. It's like Hillsong, Bethel, Elevation.
All of it, all of the above. So I didn't know there was a school. The first thing I saw was Worship You, which was like 1 week long. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to throw away my whole life for a week. I was like, there has to be, like, I knew there had to be something. Yeah. And I was like, one random day, I was like on YouTube and I saw the promo for their ministry. It was like random. I was like watching someone do makeup or something. Oh, like it was a random video.
And then it led you to.
It literally, the next cue was Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. And it was 3 years. And
when you saw that, had you already talked to your parents or did you? Okay.
Because I was like, I'm not going to bring them. It's like.
Without a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's something you never do as an Abishai kid.
If you're going to break some news, some bad news, make sure.
You have to have a solution. For the damage you've had to do.
For sure. So when you watch the ad or what have you for school, Bethel School, were you like.
I was like, yo, you know when you like it just in you, you know when you feel the moment and you're like, oh, this is God.
Yeah.
You like everything is lining up and you're like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
I actually had a dream. Yeah, that night too.
Okay.
It was like either that night or like a couple of days later. And I knew it was like God literally like played for me what it was gonna be. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then I sat my parents down and I was like, you know, like I know the Bible says honor your father and mother, but honoring and, you know, respecting you doesn't actually mean I have to agree with you, which I think is very misused.
Yeah.
Honor your father and mother doesn't actually mean agree with everything.
Yeah. Or honor them above honoring God and what he has for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know, we never talk about that. You know, I think, it could be used as manipulation to do something that might be a good thing, but not be a godly thing. It might be great for someone else, maybe not for you. And so, it's just this weird line where you're just like, okay. And then, like in our community, there is no, what's it called? There is no rite of passage where you're like, okay, now you're an adult and you make your decisions. We'll support you, would give advice, but this is ultimately on you now. It's just like, even till this day, we were turning 30 this year. My mom still talks to me like I'm 16. You know what I'm saying? But it's just this, you know, you're always their baby. And it's like,
always.
We want to, I'm your child. But like you said, I'm first called to God before I'm called to God before I'm even called to myself.
Very true.
Right. And so, there's that weird line of honoring God over honoring your parents. Yeah. So I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just like this weird, I've never sat down and talked to my parents like I was an adult. I always sat down and was like, okay. Yeah. But it was never like, I love you and thank you so much for everything you've done in my life. But
this is what I'm going to do.
This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it was like, and I think there was a little bit of trauma attached to the last time I sat them down and I was like, I want to do ministry.
Yeah.
But this time I came in low and was just like, I just want to serve God. And there's a ministry school in Redding, California. Yeah. I'll be closer to Moni. Gave them all of the things. And they were like, okay, we'll support you. 100%. Yeah. And I was like, only God can do that, y'all. Yeah, seriously. The shift was.
If you're not Abishai, you don't understand. That's a miracle.
a whole miracle. Like, it was very, we'll support you. Yeah. Like, we're proud of you. Like, this is good, whatever. Yeah. Obviously, they had, like, what exactly is the school? Is it accredited? Is it not? It's not accredited. You don't actually come out with a degree. But it's a ministry school. All of the things that we learn are, like, theology and
Yeah.
anything you would learn in a regular theological school, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a credit. Like all of those things they had questions about, but nonetheless, they were very supportive.
Yeah.
Aside from like the little, you read on social media about Bethel Church, and it's
There's
what you read
things.
on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had those setbacks too, but
Yeah.
other than that, they were very just like, okay, well, I guess we'll trust God and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Awesome. So you told them for the second time. This time they're a little bit more receptive. Gave you your blessings, packed up your bags, and moved to Redding, California.
Yeah.
What was that like? Was it a culture shock?
Oh my God. Was it a culture shock?
Listen, y'all, Siri would send me videos being in Chapel of Things. I was like, yo, what's going on?
What is holy laughter?
What's holy laughter?
What is that stuff? What are you doing laughing during service?
Mind you guys, we're already, as Avisha, super charismatic.
Yeah.
Like really charismatic. And this was a whole nother level of
just all.
But not only that, but now you're surrounded by a whole bunch of, white people, and, you're no longer surrounded by Ethiopians and Eritreans, and there's culture shock there. And then, what was that experience like?
The move from, I will say, when I decided that I was gonna be like, okay, God, this is what you're saying. I'm just gonna go for it. Yeah. I have no plan. I have no grid. I was like, I need a job. I need to work full time now because I'm not in school.
Yeah.
So I basically was like, okay, God, I need a job. Took the year off just to work. Got a job at Google. Google Fiber in Kansas City, and it paid really good. I was able to save up a bunch of money. And my parents were like, all right, you save. So with Bethel, you have to pay off your tuition in full before you go. Yeah. And you do that every year. Yeah. So not the whole 3 years you pay off, but every year it's tuition. You have to pay it off in full. First miracle I've ever seen happen personally. I saved up enough money. I think it was like the deposit was like $500, and then you have to like pay off $4,500 before you go. I saved up $4,500, and literally the day that I was like, oh, praise God, I'm going to pay off my tuition because I'm leaving in a couple weeks. Yeah. Paid it off, and I get an email that someone had PayPal'd me $4,500. Wow. And it said anonymous.
That's crazy.
Until this day, I don't know who that person is.
Wow.
But it was almost like, it felt like
if you're watching right now, feel free to PayPal me $4,500. I'm just kidding.
You're going to bring them. I thought it was an altar call, not PayPal me. Yeah. Till this day, I don't know who it was. And that was the first time I was like, oh, God is actually with me. Like, God actually understands that this is a risk for me. Wow. Yeah. And then I get to Redding, and I need God more than ever. No, I'm kidding. But it was a culture shock. I didn't realize I had missed the Abisha community as much as they say you never know what you have till it's gone. Yeah, yeah. The Abisha community was gone. Like I was the only. Yeah. I think there was like 2 or 3 Ethiopians that I met later that year. Okay. And then one friend who was from Canada that we like applied around the same time and got accepted. But that's it. Like there was nothing. It was all just a bunch of white people. There was a small black community. Yeah. And you clung to your... When I say small, I'm not exaggerating. It was small. Like it was exactly what I'm saying. It's small. I know. I went to a Christian university. So yes. Northwestern. We just... Every black person knew each other in Redding. Literally, I know how that goes. Yo. So it was a small community, but I'm really grateful for that. The church was we come from a very Pentecostal church, very charismatic. My first service there, I heard someone laughing during church. And I was like, what's going on, yo? Is there a comedian in the house? I was like, did I miss it? Did Bill say something funny? Did I miss the punchline? Right. It was just like, what is going on? Yeah. And you hear it, I think on videos, Bethel Church looks like this humongous, like, it's not a big church at all. Yeah. We have a lot of services, but it's not this like huge stadium. For sure. It's like a normal sized church. Yeah. But when you hear people laugh, you hear it from like all corners of the room. It's just like popcorn laughing.
You said popcorn and laughing.
Yes. And I did not know what was happening.
Yeah.
Over time, they explain it to us. Like, it's just some things you can't put words to.
Yeah.
Some things I learned very quickly that God speaks to us and works in us differently. Like differently for me than he does in you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Holy Spirit could come differently in me than he does in you.
Yeah.
And so that's really what was like, oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, so I didn't know what to call it.
Yeah.
I had no context for it. I literally thought they were crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I hear that. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people still do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the Lord speaks to me in dreams and visions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
I would see all these dreams and then meet the people that I had dreams about, and it's like, what is going on?
You were telling us some crazy stories last night. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and I never knew that it's not something that you just are like, all right, God, this is how you're going to speak to me. He just does it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's your job whether you're going to listen or pick up on it or not.
That's real.
With the laughter, that's what I learned. The same way that I wouldn't want someone to judge me on how I communicated with the Lord or what he did in me. I wouldn't want to do that to anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for some reason in the Christian it's one thing to be cautious. Mm-hmm. We can even disagree, but to judge is a whole nother thing, and I feel like we got to do a better job of, walking in truth and in grace, and I feel like unity is difficult. But sometimes we just have to check our preferences, and one of the reasons why we started shaping the culture is to acknowledge that our culture isn't God, right? That God has his kingdom and we have to adhere to that, and that should impact our culture here in this life or what have you. And so, but that's not to say people can't caution around that or disagree with that, but it is to say, like, the moment we start judging, the moment we start putting down, the moment, I think that's a whole another
level.
Another level. So you move there, you have a culture shock on different levels, theologically, socially, so on and so forth. Did you ever get to a point where, because I think sometimes people think that following your dream is this easy path, or following your dream.
No.
It's like, all right, I made the move. God, I know you're with me. I got 40, like you provided 4,500, the exact amount of money, or like to the dollar that I needed, you gave. So obviously you're with me, and you're going in Cali with full confidence, bold, like no one can tell me nothing, right? Like God is with me. I'm pursuing I've seen miracles already. My parents blessing me, so on and so forth, right? When you got there though, was it difficult?
I couldn't find a job. I was like, God, you got me here. Sustain me now. Like,
that's tough.
It's one thing to get there, to make it there, but to stay there. Yeah. It's another thing. There's a lot of, my family can tell you, like, there's a lot of moments where I just call them crying. Like, I have 25 cents in my bank account and my $600 rent is due tomorrow. Like, stuff like that. And I would just, like, they would help. And then other times I would just sit in class and be like, oh man, God, I got like $30 left, but I need to make it last 3 weeks. I'm hungry though. I don't have lunch.
Wow. Yeah.
Person sitting next to me be like, hey, can I buy you lunch? Sheesh. Like small, like random stuff like that. Yeah. Very, very random. Wow. Very, God, you hear my prayers, actually. Even like the little ones, like, oh, I'm hungry, God. Like, I want some chicken.
That's
or like,
good.
I would love some McDonald's fries, like to the T, like small, specific prayers that he just delights in blessing us with. Oh my gosh, I'll get you some McDonald's fries through the stranger that you never talked to. But
that's crazy. It just feels like God is with you and just making way, one way after another, providing food, rent, all of that good stuff. On top of that, for those who might not know, you're a worship leader.
Yeah.
And
that story.
Listen, you're in Redding, California, where people go there to worship lead.
Yeah.
So it's probably super competitive.
Very.
It's hard to, I remember, do you remember? Cause like you had asked me for a letter of recommendation,
Yeah.
but your opportunity to lead, how that came to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, can you even talk about how God came through?
Yeah.
Cause like, how do you stand out, right? It has to be the favor of God, because you've got all these other people trying to do the same things as you. There's probably other people that are just as talented, if not more talented, or even more experienced. It's hard to stand out. Like, how did God even provide for you to kind of get into these spaces so that you can fulfill the calling that you believe the Lord had for you?
Yeah, I just want to put it out there. The only reason I made it to BSSM is because Ebenezer wrote my recommendation letter. They were like, who is this man? Yes, accept her.
That's a great letter of recommendation.
It was really good.
Yeah, I had to try, you know what I'm saying? But I just remember that opening up.
That story.
Not just, yeah.
Yeah, so basically I went into Reading. I have been leading worship since I was like, man, how old was I? Like 13.
Young, yeah.
I was like
leading conferences and
Midwest
camps.
at camps and stuff. And if you guys don't know, we grew up together.
Yeah, we've known each other for a very long time.
Over 15 years.
It's crazy. And our families have known each other longer.
Longer than that. But yeah, I started leading worship at a very, very young age and been doing it for a long time. Was very committed to our local Ethiopian church in Kansas.
That's a whole other message, because you were faithful for mad years before you even got these opportunities. You know, people think you just got here. They don't know
sometimes
that you were singing in a room full of just kids that didn't even want to be there.
Right.
Or like maybe 10 people showed up to service that day, you know.
Faithful in the little, you'll be ruler over much.
A word.
Abu preached a message about that yesterday.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, there was kids that didn't want to be there. I was like, y'all, me neither, but let's do it.
Or even being a part of a church that, I mean, when you're a part of obviously church, you know, you don't have the budget to get the mics that you need, the sound system that you need.
Dry. That worship was dry.
You're like there's just so many things that are,
there's just no resources.
There
is no resources. And here I am at a church that has all of the resources you can think of under the sun. Overnight.
But it wasn't overnight, because you were faithful for 15 plus years.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There was moments at the church where I was like, God, I can't keep leading worship like there's 300 people in the room when there's 3.
Yeah.
Or like, you know.
That's real. That's a real battle. Yeah.
And I don't think we talk about it. I think maybe it's our human pride, but it's like, as a worship leader, it sucks to lead worship in front of 4 people.
Yeah. And
you're like going all out, like, God, lift up your hands in worship. And you look and the boys are on their phone.
I feel it, because as a pastor, when you're preaching to 3 people in the room and you know 2 of them have to be there.
Because their parents are in the choir.
Literally. But to speak to that, like, I remember one time, I don't know if I ever shared this on the podcast, but yeah, we were just going through it as a young adult ministry before we planted Perazim Church.
Yeah.
And, you know, people see Perazim Church and like, oh, you guys are doing great things, but it's a lot of ups and downs. It's very difficult. I mean, COVID did not make things easier, but I remember there was a time when we were the young adult ministry, and so we were trying to set culture. And so we told the worship team, because again, being Avishai, we're very late to things. And so we're like, guys, we're not going to start service, or we're going to start service as soon as our service time starts. We're not going to wait for people to show up to start. So we're like, all right, if we start at 5 p.m., we start at 5 p.m. with or without people. So there have been multiple times where we would start service and people would walk in just having full-blown conversations thinking the worship team was practicing. They had no idea we had started service. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
There were times where I've like preached and there's like only one. And I remember one time, one of our members, I was dropping her off home one day, and, I was discouraged. I was like, gosh, I just, you spend all this time studying, and, when in your mind, when you're preparing a set or you're preparing a message, you're like, this is going to the masses. This is going to be great. And then you get there and it's 3 people.
And you're like,
and I'm like, all right, here's the test. Do I give them as much as I would give to a space that was packed out? Or do I treat the room like it was irrelevant?
Right.
And I remember God telling me, no, if there's, I mean, Jesus leaves the 99 for the one, right? So it's like, all right, I'm going to preach like it's a packed house. And I remember, I didn't even think people would notice. I remember this member of ours, when I was dropping her off, she's like, hey, I want to say thank you. I was like, for what? She's like, because every time you preach like there's a bunch of us in the room. And she was like, I don't know why you do that, but it makes me feel seen. And thank you.
There it is.
There it is, right? But overnight you have all the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ear, what's that called?
In-ears,
The
right?
ear-ins? I don't know.
Ear-ins. I'm weak. Parker's like, bro.
Listen, I stay in my lane. Parker
Right.
knows. Come see me preach this text though. Like, I'll exegete that. No, I'm just
Oh no.
Yeah, no. But you were a part of a context in a church that didn't have resources, didn't have the things needed.
Yeah.
People weren't showing up like faithful all these years, and then you get here, and then sorry, I keep interrupting.
No,
but,
no. I mean, it's all important.
Yeah.
Like it's all. We were talking about this yesterday too. How nothing that I have ever endured was wasted.
Yeah.
Like I see things, I feel emotions that used to come up, and I'm like, nah, Siri, like you've already been through this. You know the faithfulness of God, so just keep pushing through.
That's good. Yeah.
When there was like 3-4 people in the room and I didn't even want to worship, like it was to the point where I remember there's a moment where I was just like, I used to feel weird about even opening up a set in prayer. I don't know why that is the hardest thing for worship leaders to do. At least starting out.
Yeah.
It's so hard to be like, hey guys, welcome to service. Let's just like lift up our hands and praise, Yeah. That was so hard for me.
Yeah.
Because I only knew, I'm like, there's 3 or 4 people. Like my posture wasn't right.
Wow. Yeah.
I came into leading every set with the wrong posture. And God was like, if you go in somewhere, you got to fix that.
Yeah.
Fix that first.
Yeah.
So he was literally fixing me up.
Yeah.
Every Sunday.
Wow.
He was like
fine-tuning.
building me up, fine-tuning.
Yeah.
Every little thing. I didn't go perfect.
Wow, that's a word.
I didn't go perfect,
That's
but
a
when I
word.
got there, I knew that there were more things internally that needed fine-tuning.
Yeah.
But he had to fix what needed to be fixed in Kansas before I moved on to the next season.
That's a word.
Yeah.
Like on one end, God wanted to train you to a certain level to get to the next phase. But on the other hand, he didn't lead you into the next season fine-tuned. There were still some, because I think sometimes, the temptation is to believe, man, as soon as I perfect this, then this door will open. And sometimes God uses the open door to perfect us.
Yep.
Right. And so did you go with an imposter syndrome then at all? Where you're surrounded by all these worship leaders, man, so many talented and skillful people. You've got people leading Bethel worship in the service or teaching classes or at chapel or like what was that like for you to be in that place, having the Lord work on you, but at the same time knowing there was so much work that still needed to be done? Yeah.
No, I mean, everyone that I looked up to as a young worship leader was there.
Wow.
Like talk about being in the same room as your heroes. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I was there, but it was just like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, well, do I even deserve to be here?
Wow.
I went to Reading knowing, because I had been in the worship thing for so long. I went for God. I didn't actually want to lead worship when I was there.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't think I'm going to do it. Like, I don't think, like, if God really wants me to be in worship, he'll make it happen.
Right.
But I'm not going to go in and do all the things. I'm here for the Lord. I'm here to learn more about him, more about the word. I used to say to my brother, or my family actually, he texted me a couple months ago and was like, I just remember this conversation we had a while back and you kept saying that you're more than just a worship leader. And he was like, it actually just hit me what that meant.
Wow.
What you meant when you said that.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just want to encourage you. You are.
Yeah.
So I went into Reading like, I'm more than just a worship leader. I'm not going to come here and spend another 13 years. I'm doing the same thing. I believe God is doing more in me than just music and just worship.
So you went in like,
heck no.
Yeah. It's like, God, I want to be just a child of God before anything else. And what was that like? Did you feel like you were just, and that probably was really refreshing because you came from a context where you're probably leading all the time.
And no one knew who I was. No one knew I did music.
Yeah.
Everyone just knew that I was just there.
First
year student.
Yeah.
And then Sunday service, my first Sunday service alone, I went, didn't know anyone. It was a 6 p.m. service. It's like packed out. And I was like, dang, there's so many people, no seats left. Eric Johnson, one of the pastors, got up on stage and he was like, if you're a first year student, just stand up. We just want to pray over you guys and just bless your year. This was before school started. Mind you, the audition list
ridiculous, huh?
to audition for worship teams in first year was insane. It was like hundreds of people applied.
Yeah.
So many people didn't make it.
Wow.
That was video auditions. So this is like the whole summer they had been prepping to like send in their video audition, like got to submit it so you can get accepted. And then there's live auditions. And then after the live auditions, there were callbacks for people who made it after the live audition. And then you make it. Yeah. And here I am at church, missed all of those steps. Was like, I'm not doing it. I had decided.
Yeah.
So I like didn't send in a video, didn't like nothing. Yeah. Didn't pay attention. I didn't even read the emails about it because I was like decided. Yeah. 2 women laid their hands on me that Sunday and they were like praying and they were like, well, the first lady was like, I just feel like there's something in you that we need. And I can't remember. She was just something along the lines of like music. She was like, I just like see music on your life or whatever. Yeah. I was like, okay, great. Like, I don't know. Prophetic words are weird. Like you're like, okay.
Heard that. Very vague.
Right. I'm like, do you know where I came from? Like, so not to be like, ugh, but it was just like, okay, like, great. I receive it. Thank you. Like, it's probably about the future.
Yeah.
The far future.
And not the near future. Yeah.
Right. So then I sat down and the lady, some random woman was like, hey, there's a seat next to me. Just come sit. And so I sat and I was like, I can't. Because I had already been to the morning service that day. And so I was like, okay, I was just here for worship. Let me just like pack up my things and go. And as I'm packing up, the lady behind me taps on me and she was like, hey, are you leaving? And I was like, oh, I'm caught. Here we go. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to head out. And she was like, I was fighting this whole service, but I don't know. It's really specific, but God told me that you're not going to audition. And I was like, what? Yeah. Who? Yeah. And she was like, yeah, I just want to tell you that you think you're not auditioning for this just because you think that you need to grow in every other way, but God wants you to know that he wants to grow you even more in your craft. Wow. And you will reach everything else that you want. But like, you need to audition for worship teams. You have a lot to give. Wow. And I was like, oh, not this church. Oh God, where did I come? What in the world? These people read my mail. Yeah. My mail. They went to my house, opened my mailbox, and read all the mail. Yeah. It was crazy. She said a lot more. I can't remember. I have it written somewhere, but she just said a lot that I was like, oh my gosh, this is everything I told the Lord that I wasn't gonna do. How
did you feel? Were you like, okay.
I was like, who do you know Alton? Do you know? Like, I was the only friend I had in Reading at the time. I was like, you probably know. Yeah. I was just trying to create like excuses for how she would know and not accept that, oh my gosh, like God actually wants me here for a reason. Yeah. So auditions are closed. I texted him and I was like, hey, like I got this prophetic word, and he was like, just do it. Just email the worship pastor. And I did. And it's very much like, you didn't do it, you didn't make it, you don't make it. Like you didn't audition, you missed the date. Yeah. Like it's very cutthroat because it's so competitive. Yeah. And I emailed her. She didn't respond till the next day, and it was a Monday. Live auditions were on Tuesday. And Monday she emailed me and she was like, send me a video. And I was like, okay. Yeah. I grabbed my guitar and I was like, look, I'm gonna let God be God. So I'm not gonna try anything. Yeah. She's like, just sing these 2 songs. I was like, okay. So I sang the 2 songs, sent her the video, heard nothing back. Yeah. I was like, oh God, if this is to humble me, like you made me make this video and I wasn't going to hear from her. Like, what lesson are you?
To audition. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, what are you trying to teach me, God? Yeah. Is it just the process of going through something and being rejected? Do you want me to like accept rejection already? Yeah. And then Tuesday morning at like 8 a.m,
Yeah.
I get a call from her intern and was like, "Are you Siri? We want you to come live audition 8 a.m." I was like, "Okay, what song am I singing? This song in this key."
Dang.
I was like, "I don't even get." Okay, great.
Yeah.
Put on clothes, like didn't even shower, ran to the audition place. There was like so many people before. I was the last person to audition because my last name starts with a W. Thanks, Dad. And you know the struggle. High school graduation was the worst. I was like the second to last person. My parents hated it.
And it's W
O. Just not.
Day. And then
right.
R.
Right. It was like all of the last half of the alphabet.
Yikes.
K and then U again. But yeah, so I was the last person to audition. Every single person, let me give you an example of how one audition went.
Yeah.
She goes, I don't know, I'm probably going over time, but
no, you're good. This is good. That's why we're here.
So you sing or whatever. She has like, there's like some Bethel music people, and then there's like some leadership people.
Yeah.
Like judging.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Like just saying, or yeah, she's great. Nah, not that one. Just like, I'm like, what
First
is
of all,
this
that's
American
super
Idol?
nerve-wracking.
I'm already sweating because
Yeah.
I didn't get to shower.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And
y'all smell that?
Right. It's me rotting in my chair. And so one girl goes, she's singing, doing her thing. Faithful to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Can you sing like you're older than 19? Or that's what they would say.
Wow.
Or like, sing like your age.
Wow.
Or stop trying to perform, just sing.
Yeah.
Like they're so direct.
Yeah. Straight
And
with it, yeah.
I was so offended at first. But let me tell you, that honesty grows you.
Oof, that's a word for somebody.
Honesty
Come
we were
on.
talking about this today or
Yikes.
yesterday.
Yikes.
When you're so honest with someone and
Yeah.
how you like, it grows them. Because
Yeah.
imagine if they were like, yeah, you were good, and you don't
weren't
make
good.
it.
Yeah.
They said I was great. I don't know what was wrong. Like, you can't fix it. And
Everything was wrong. You didn't hear
you
about
didn't
where.
hear-
Yeah.
Right. So they were just like, yeah, like this, you know.
Yeah.
So they did that for everyone. So they spent like 2 or 3 minutes on everyone.
Jeez.
And I go up and I sing 2 seconds of the song. They cut me off and told me, okay, great.
What?
I was like, no feedback. No, you did amazing.
All right, that's all we heard. That's all we need to hear.
I did, let me tell you, I did Faithful to the End
Yeah. Which part?
by Paul and Hannah McClure, Bethel Music. Shout out. I said, and I will sing of all you've done. I'll remember how far you carried me. From beginning to the end, you are faithful, faithful. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Siri. All right, everyone, we'll call you back in an hour. That is how it went. And I didn't come back. I was so nervous.
Yeah.
And then I was like 3 days waiting, like, oh my gosh, did I make it? I don't know. They spent hours and 2 seconds on me.
Yeah.
And so I get an email. I got called to the callbacks, and I'm like, God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Just embarrassing me out here in these streets. I'm a new person in this city.
Yeah.
And long story short, callbacks were the same. They spent the same time on everyone. I go up even less time. I sang like 2 sentences of the chorus. And they're like, all right, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then, I made teams.
Gosh, that's crazy.
So, everyone's like, how did you make teams? I was like, honestly, I barely auditioned.
Yeah.
It was, that's how you know it was the Lord.
Because you went in, you didn't even want to apply. You didn't want to sing. You just wanted to love the Lord.
Got these prophetic
You
words.
got a prophetic word. I don't even know how. It was a miracle that you even got an audition because, imagine everybody has taken the summer to
prep for this.
Yes, and then you just come in last minute. You don't even get to
I thought
fully
people
sing.
hated me.
Yeah.
Like, I literally was like, oh my gosh, everyone doesn't like me because I did no work to do this. And long story short, so at the end, so my first set that I ever led in school, mind you, in that environment, if you make teams, it's like you're gold.
Yeah.
Like, it is the big, like 1,300 people in my class, I think it was.
Wow.
So you get to lead worship in front of 1,300 people every week.
Yeah.
You get like mentored by all of these like amazing worship leaders. So it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
You think you're like the biggest person. Like it gets to your head.
Yeah.
I definitely, my first year I was like, I'm in worship team and I didn't even have to try. Like very, just so
I
cocky. Right.
Yeah.
Like, Siri, sit down,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But my first set, the day before, my worship pastor was like, hey, like, let's go hang out before your first set. I just want to cover you. And she just kind of asked like where I'm from and all of this stuff. And I was like, she was like, do you have any questions for me? And I was like, why did you choose me? Like, what led you to let me do this?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have let you in.
Wow.
And I was like, what?
Dang.
And she was like, yeah, if it was up to me, I wouldn't even have chosen you. I barely heard you sing. I was distracted the whole time.
Dang.
Just laid it out. And I was like, so why did you?
Yeah.
And that made me like a leader, like a
Yeah.
co-leader of a team.
Yeah.
And she said one of her interns had reminded her of a dream that she had of me. She had a dream, and God had told her in the dream that an African woman was going to come, curly hair, big, black,
Wow.
like woman is going to come, and she's going to audition, and you're going to let her in.
Wow.
And she was like, at that point, she's like, that's why we didn't take that much time, because we knew it was
We already knew. Dang.
So in my head, I'm like, God, I'm not good enough.
Wow.
What are you doing? You're embarrassing me.
Yeah.
Like, are you trying to prepare me for rejection? What is going on? And on the
Yeah.
other side of it, they already knew that God had told them
It was already done.
It was already done before I even came.
So this year, the first Sunday of 2021, I preached from John 6, where Jesus turns the bread and like he multiplies the 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. But before he does, he asks, the disciples, like, what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to do this? They're all like, it can't happen. They're doing the math. They're trying to add it all up. They're looking at what they have, and they're like, even if we took what we did have in our hands, it wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is in John 6, the Bible says he asked them only to test them and see what was in their heart, for he had already in mind what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Like, Jesus was like, I already know what I'm about to do.
That verse sums up my entire first year. Honestly, all 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, listen, I've got it all worked out.
Yeah.
I'm God. I got this.
Yeah.
I just want to know where your faith is at.
Yeah.
I want to know what you believe about me. I want to know, do you actually trust that what I have for you is it's viable, that it's actually going to happen, or what have you. And so as you're telling that story, that's literally the passage, and that's our verse for the year at Paris Name Church. Yeah. He asked them only to test what there was not. He already had planned what he was going to. Yeah. So incredible.
Yeah. So that was kind of like where it all started.
Yeah. So, man, there's so much we want to talk about.
I know. I'm like, there's
like,
so much to talk about.
Yeah. I was like, which direction do I want to go in? But I'm already captivated by this story. What was that like for you going up and leading? And then, you mentioned your only friend there was Elton, and just building and connecting, because you got in. Another thing too that's crazy about your story, Siri, that people probably don't know, is the timing of it all.
Oh yeah.
Like, you moved right when Bethel started this collective called, was it Tribal or Maverick?
So actually, I think it was like I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was, I want to say like halfway through my first year.
Yeah.
Or no, maybe it was towards the end of my first year is
Yeah.
when Maverick City like blew up.
Yeah.
But we were like recording it. Like the first volume we recorded at some house in Redding, California. And they just all happened to be there to lead worship in our first year class.
Gosh, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So like the thing that's like crazy about your story, because sometimes like, and man, I want to talk about this a little bit more, because we talked about how God prepares you for everything.
Yeah.
If you never think about, if you went to Bethel school a year prior, like if you didn't take the year to work, you just like everything is like fine-tuned and lined up so that when you get there and when you go and you're recording,
yeah.
I mean, it's easy to look at Maverick City now and be like, oh my gosh, but then it's like, we're just like, in a house.
Like no one knew who Chandler was, I don't
Nothing.
think. Like No one knew.
I didn't know.
Jay
Yeah.
Thomas was there, but like people knew Jay Thomas from IHOP.
Yeah.
Like random people were in
Yeah.
that room. Like some people from Bethel Music were there.
Yeah.
Like our first year worship team like was having team night down the street, like down the road. Like it was like 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
We just had team night like every Wednesday we have it, and then Thursday they were all gonna lead. Cause it was like a black, I think it was in February.
Yeah.
Cause we were doing a Black History Month gospel set at school.
Yeah.
And
Shout out.
they just all, Alton was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to invite some friends and they're going to come lead. And they were like, okay. And so they just all happened to be there. And so Dante, I didn't know any of them.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know any. That's when I first met like Naomi and Dante and them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it all just was random.
Yeah. So one of the things, like you now leading in the context that you're leading, you've got some exciting things you probably can't even. Yeah. But one thing you and I talked about was how God trained you for where you are today. Yeah. Like the way in which, I mean, the setting that you were in, the church that you were in, the kind of worship that you sang, the gifts that you had, the way you honed in on your gifts, you in no way, shape, or form had to change who you were or who you are to be where God had for you.
Yeah.
What, like, is that something you look back on and notice, or every step of the way were you able to notice, wow, like I've my whole life has been in training for this moment. Like I've been like, I don't know, what was that like for you? Because sometimes we think our life is random.
Yeah.
I got fired from this job and it's random. A friend betrayed me and it's random. This breakup is random. I'm not in school right now and everybody's in college and they're telling me that I'm going to not do anything with my life, and that's random. Yeah. But literally nothing goes to waste when you're in God's hands. Nope. And so did you, like, in the moment, like, what was that like for you every step of the way? And you find yourself in a peculiar season, a peculiar city with a group of individuals who nobody really knows, and you're over here just being faithful. just
sticking it out.
Yeah, what was that like for you to just kind of, because I definitely wanted to encourage people with that story, just how God uses it all.
Yeah, no, nothing is wasted. It's actually Chandler's merch.
Really?
Every time we say it, I laugh because it's Chandler's like merch like thing. It says nothing is wasted, but shameless plug. Go get it. You never know. You never realize it until you look back. Like you never realize where you are present day until you turn around and you're like, oh yeah, there was a mountain there that I climbed over and a river that I walked through and some woods that I had to, like, you never, but if you keep going forward, you're never actually going to realize.
Wow, that's a word. You just got to keep going.
You only see what's in front of you.
Yeah.
You never see what you've endured.
Yeah.
I think that was the case for me. It was every so often I'll just like sit down and be like, oh my gosh, wow. I led worship in front of 4 people. Even my first set at BSSM, I was like, oh my gosh, like 1,300 people. I've never done this. Yeah. So nervous. I was like sweating my pants. Like just so, it was crazy.
I get here?
Yeah. Yoni and I talk about this all the time. I used to like, just hate gospel music. And you see where I am now and who I'm surrounded with now. And it's like, what? It's literally only gospel artists. Like, mind you, like, I hate the differentiation of like CCM, gospel. Like, worship is worship. But I was like, because Yoni went to a church that was like so gospel. And I was like, it's too loud. It's just like, and you'll see like the songs that, I'm like, yeah, Jesus. It's just so dainty.
I surrender.
Yeah, very Bethel.
Yeah. I mean,
IHOP, like Kansas,
Yeah.
That's what I grew up in. So I was like, I don't sing. I'm not a gospel singer.
Yeah.
I don't do runs and like all this stuff. Yeah. And then now I'm like, oh wow, God, you really do.
Yeah.
You really do bring things around.
Yeah.
And now everyone that I'm around, they're gospel artists. And like I'm around people that Yoni's like, oh my gosh.
Remember when I told you about them 4 years ago?
Yeah. And I'm like, what, who? You didn't tell me about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you never know. I would encourage people to just like sit down and just maybe journal or not, just think about, like, just look back and say, where was I like 4 years ago? And where am I now? And what are all the things that I had to endure in order to get to this place that I'm in? It's very simple to say. Like, it's nothing like, that's amazing, that's a word, but it's like, just do it.
Yeah. I love that. We can be here all day long.
Yeah.
But we've already spent some time. I wanted to ask you, what would be your encouragement? I feel like you're just now, we were talking about this the last couple of days, but I really believe that the Lord is setting you up and leading you into I feel like everything that you ever worked for is about to start, paying off. And I don't even know what the future has for you, but based off of the things that the Lord has given you the opportunity to do thus far, you could tell he's got big plans for you. For anybody listening in right now, Shaping the Culture, maybe they're an artist, maybe they're an actor, maybe they're an engineer, maybe they're a janitor, maybe they're a student, maybe they're a single parent, whoever is tuning in, and they're like, they've got this God-given dream, but where they are just seems so, it doesn't seem plausible for that dream to come to fruition, whether it's the state that they're in, the city that they're in, the context that they're in. You've had to overcome a lot of these obstacles. What would be your encouragement to someone who believes that God is calling them to greater, but it's hard for them to see it because of where they're at?
Yeah, that's a good question. Breathing again. You never, give it up. You don't, none of this is yours.
Wow. Yeah.
None of it, your job isn't yours.
Yeah.
Your kids aren't yours.
Yeah.
Your house isn't yours.
Yeah.
Your dreams aren't even yours.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Your own dreams and desires actually aren't even yours.
Yeah.
But God does it in a way that they are yours.
Yeah. That's so good.
They're not yours. So just risk is one of the biggest things that I have. The importance of risk is one of the biggest things that I have learned in the last couple of years. It's giving God a chance.
Wow, risk is giving God a chance. That's a word. Yeah.
Giving him a chance to show up. Not testing him, though.
Yeah.
It's different than testing God. But taking a risk and saying, okay, God, you and I both know that I'm called to this. But sometimes risk actually looks like staying faithful to the job that looks like it's going nowhere.
Staying there, that could be a lot more risky than leaving. Yeah.
Because sometimes it's easy to leave. If it was up to me, I wanted to go to Bethel, but when I got the job at Google Fiber, it was a real good job.
Yeah.
God was like, okay, now it's time. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
But sometimes risk looks differently. It looks different than what we always think it is, or we see other people say, risk was leaving for me, and risk could be staying for you, or risk was putting out that song as an artist, and or putting out a GoFundMe saying, hey, I'm trying to put this out. Would you come and support me? Yeah. That's risk for a lot of people. And then risk for some people is don't release anything.
Pray on it some more. Seek God's face. Yeah.
That was risk for me. I still haven't put anything out. And it was and God is just working things out. And now I'm so grateful that I didn't put anything out.
That's a word. Yeah.
Because I don't have to do anything for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my biggest encouragement is take the risk, but really articulate what that risk looks like for your situation.
Yeah.
And then you're giving God a chance to blow your mind.
Feel it. I this morning I was reading on the story of Jacob in Genesis and how my guy Jacob, he's trying to constantly finagle his way into the blessing. So whether it's deceiving Esau, or later on deceiving Laban, his father-in-law, you just see him constantly trying to make things happen for himself. And the thing is, though, you know, he works 14 years to try to get Rachel. I mean, he worked 7 years. He thought he was going to get Rachel.
Got the wrong one.
Got Leah, dog. But I was like, yo, this man had to be in love to work another 7 years for Rachel. Like, are you kidding me?
What kind of love is this?
What kind of love is this? Yo, I want that, God. I was praying, Lord, I want that kind of love. But all that to say, you just see him from moment to moment try to make it happen for himself. And what ends up happening is his first wife, Leah, who he doesn't want to have be his wife, she gives birth to Judah, praise, which the line of Jesus comes from. And it's a crazy story because it was after Judah was born, Leah was like, forget it. Like, I'm not going to try to. And it's this blessing has come to him, but it's because of God's grace. And I'm going through, shout out to Windows and Mirror, shout out to Jono and Keith. Y'all have been helping me go through the Bible. And John O says something that was so profound in light of these stories. He says, nobody finagles their way into God's blessing. We stumble our way into it.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that we have to understand that this idea of scheming and trying to make it happen for ourselves. And because, you know, like, I love what you said about risk sometimes looks like just not putting anything out. Because in a culture, in a society where it's grind culture and hustle culture, and you got to do this and you got to put ads on your thing, and then you got to be constantly in people's faces, it's almost like you have to make it happen for yourself. And no, you don't need to. Like, you can't fumble the bag. If God wants you here, he'll lead you there. Like, if God didn't want you where you're at right now, he wouldn't have led you in a unique way to where you're at. You in a million years, I mean, 10 years ago at Midwest, we didn't come up with this game plan. We didn't sit. We're not so wise where we can sit and say, all right, this is the game plan. You're going to do this, and then you're going to go to college for a year, and then you're going to drop out and work for a year. And then after that, there's going to be this worship team that's about to blow up, and then you're going to get in before they blow up, and then they blow. It's like, we don't. And so you don't finagle your way into the blessing of God.
That's so silly.
It's silly, but I feel like that's what we're trying to do today.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it happen.
The hustle culture.
It's the hustle culture. And yeah, take the risk of waiting on God.
Yeah.
Or take the risk on, some of us, God's asking us to move, you know? But yeah, that's something that's been encouraging me. That's something in the back of my mind I've been meditating on today, is I'm thinking, man, Jacob is out here trying to make it happen for himself, but God had already blessed him. Yeah. And yeah, we stumble into these things. And so that's awesome. Any last thoughts before we wrap this up? By the way, she's going to come back on here.
I know we have so much to talk. I was like, wait, we didn't even talk about anything. Yeah, we talked about a lot.
It's been an hour already.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? We're going to talk about love and relationships and dating outside of your race.
Hey, can guys and girls be best friends? Because
Siri's not around Avishas anymore. What did you say? Can guys and girls be best friends? Listen, quick story. When I found Siri, she was lost. Let me tell you a funny story.
She was lost.
She was lost. All right. This was 4 or 5 years ago. She was staying at our place. It was a conference. Yeah. And, you know, after conferences, we go back to the house. Everybody's up late having deep conversations.
2 a.m.
Until 2, 3 a.m. And this... she's in a situationship. And she's trying to explain why it's okay for guys and girls to be close friends. And that's like, that was hurting you. That was literally killing you.
Y'all, Abuz and I's friendship was about to end that night.
I literally almost choked her. Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? It's because I want the best for you. That's all.
Look at us now. My final thought. Man, I think sit in the peace and the comfort of knowing that God will make it work out. Like, he wants your desires to happen for you just as much as you do. Do you know how much the Lord delights in seeing his children happy? He delights in that. Yeah. Like, it's not just, my father wants to see me happy. But it's like, no, he really, really does.
Yeah. I know all the parents can relate. It's not like you want your kids to be unhappy in life.
Yeah. And so sit in the comfort of knowing that you don't have to do anything.
Literally nothing. Yeah.
And it's actually better that you don't do anything, because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you can't screw it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no way that you can screw up what God has planned for you, because he planned it even before you were born.
That's a word. How would we live if we believed we can't screw it up?
Right. How would you live if you knew that, like, God has a crazy plan for my life. Like, I am put in this world not just to take up space, but to create it.
That's good.
For other people.
To shape culture.
To shape the culture, yeah.
That's a word.
How would you live if you knew, like, there's no way I can screw up my calling because it's my calling?
Yeah.
Like,
and even when we think it's a screw up, it's really God using it to set you up for what he has for you.
Right. He makes all together.
Woo!
Or all things work together.
For the good of those who love him.
Right.
Called according to his good purposes.
So, yeah,
I
that's
love
my
that.
final thought. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
Ooh. Enjoy the ride, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it first from the one and only Siri on Worku. Listen, it was a real pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We love you. We believe in you. We believe the best is yet to come. To our listeners, we believe the best is yet to come for y'all too. Thank you for rocking with your boy. Thank you for everyone who bought merch. Ooh. Hey, can you do us a quick favor? Like this video, subscribe, share, get the word out. We're trying to shape culture. It's a movement, dog. It's a movement. But until next time, family, peace and grace.
Peace out.